It's our highest level mastermind program. It's the one that I facilitate. You cannot even remotely join that unless you commit to our full immersion legendary retreat, which is a 4.5-day all-inclusive vacation to gain clarity, for people to know who they are, where they're going, who's coming with them. They discover their purpose. We dig down to exactly who they are and their core values, same problems, same issues, same challenges.
Amazing.
They just didn't have the tech. I mean, it's almost verbatim, and watching us repeat our history over and over again. And unfortunately, and this is a huge part of my story that I used to not tell because I was insecure about it. I was fearful about it. It was taboo. And unfortunately, at 18 years old, I'm getting ready. I've got all these full scholarships to these universities, and I'm going to get out of my neighborhood and get out of this place and go make something of myself. Unfortunately, I started running with the wrong people before that, and I became what I hated. I was lonely, lost, scared, insecure, and angry. And when the money, and money's just a tool. It's important, but it's a magnifying glass. And so when the money that I was earning didn't fill me up, when the status, the power, the respect, honestly, brother, I never dealt with the demons of the violence and abuse as a young man. And deep down inside, I was self-sabotaging and didn't know it.
Did you know there's a technology that's actually an app on your phone that uses sound waves to tell your brain what you want your brain to do? We had a young man that was on a guest on our podcast, the Mike Litton Experience, who had a traumatic brain injury. He was sleeping 3 hours a night. He's using NewCalm now, and he's sleeping more. Go to newcalm.com, Mike15 promo code. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. Mike is passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
Tommy Breedlove, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. I'm super excited for our time together. And like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go all the way up to today. We want to talk about Legendary. It's a community that you've built of high producers, right? That's continuing to help them produce in massive ways and have a life. And also, I want to talk about your book, obviously, because it's amazing. So thanks again for being here, bud.
Mike, I am humbled and honored to be here. Our 15 minutes prior to this has just been it's filled my cup, brother. So thank you from A to Z.
Yeah, we should have gone live. We should just go live.
Yeah, we needed to.
People always want to know, so what did you talk about for 15 minutes before you hit record, right? And it's like, unfortunately, it's going to be the mystery, right? Right?
That's
we'll tell you one
That's
day, right?
It did fill my cup, though.
That's it, baby. That's it. So where were you born?
Yeah, I was born in South Fulton, which is Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
So I'm from South Atlanta. Think airport. I think most of the people who've probably listened to this have probably been through and or stuck in the Atlanta airport at some point in their life.
Hartsfield Jackson, baby.
That's it. I think with the exception of 1 year, it's been the busiest airport in the entire world for many, many, many years now.
Yeah, really.
And so my dad was a Delta mechanic and my mom worked part-time jobs. And so we grew up pretty humbly in South Atlanta. So I'm a good born and bred Georgia boy.
Yeah, but your dad kept us safe, baby. Kept us safe.
Yeah, that's right.
So did you grow up in South Fulton?
I did. I grew up in what's called Clayton County. So that's where the airport actually is.
Gotcha.
So it's a suburb south of Atlanta, good, hardworking part of the world. Most of the people there were military, ex-military, worked for the Coca-Cola factory, the Ford factory, or I'm going to date myself, Delta or Eastern Airlines. So that's what that part of the world was known for, my friend.
Yeah, we're dating ourselves for sure today. So what was your favorite thing about growing up there?
I loved growing up around world-class athletes. I haven't been asked that before because I grew up, it was pretty hard place to grow up.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what that means in a minute. I grew up in and around a lot of violence and abuse inside and out of the home. And one of my respites and escapes was athletics. and playing basketball and football and all the things. And that part of the world has produced some of the greatest athletes around. And so growing up and exchanging sweat, he won't remember it, but I'll remember it forever, is with Hines Ward, who ended up being a Super Bowl MVP. So that was cool. And by the way, he was good at everything. He was literally good at everything. The man could play any sport. I mean, he could have chose what he wanted to do and when he wanted to do it. But, you know, exchanging sweat with him a few times and really knowing that professional athletics would never be a calling for me because he was 30,000 times better than me. And people like Andre Hastings and great track athletes and national championship winners and all the things. So that's the part I enjoyed the most about growing up there, but it was a really challenging place. And when we get to the real story of Legendary and all this, some of that'll come out. So yeah, but it was a challenging place, but being around those people only made you better, only lifted you up, and also was very humbling.
Gotcha. So who was the most influential person to you growing up?
Probably my grandfather was the most influential. And he's one of the few men that showed me love and kindness. He, you know, I grew up, again, it was a tough place to grow up. Inside the home, there was a lot of violence and abuse. On the street outside the home was a lot of violence and abuse. And I was the youngest boy in an all-boy neighborhood. And so having my grandfather, who would invest time into me, would get me out of there and help me do fun things. Someone might say he spoiled me, but he was one of the greatest men of my life. And then honestly, growing up, and I met this gentleman at 19 when I was incarcerated. There's a little plug for later. Probably the most influential man that I met was an African-American man named Tony. I was 19 years old. He was in his 40s. And he held me accountable, called me young blood, said, young blood, you're not going to become a part of this revolving door system. You're going to do something with yourself. I see something in you. So between my grandfather and Tony, these men showed me love. They held me to account. They helped me look at my potential. Whereas most of the other men in my life were not really positive influences. And so those two men really stick out as being people that loved me, knew me, cared about me, really wanted me to be fulfilled, happy, impactful, and successful. And so those two men mean a lot to me, Mike.
Well, thank God they came into your life and they were a big part of it. You know, that's something that we talk about a lot on this podcast is mentors and people that don't necessarily have the time, but they take the time, right? I mentioned to you that a friend of mine passed away 3 months ago. Well, his son is going through the roughest time I can possibly imagine. And I'm working with him and he's fighting me. He's fighting me every step of the way. He's a teenager, right? It's what he's supposed to do. But I feel like it's incredibly important that whether we have the time or we don't, especially if we don't have the time, we should make the time. And we should stop and we should pour into people that need it. We should spend the time. We should help them because, you know, my son, I was on the phone with my 26-year-old son the other day, and he was telling me about something he was going through. And I just said, okay, well, this is what you should do. And he goes, Dad, how's it possible that you have all the answers? And I said, well, I've been telling you all your life that God designed it this way. I come before you. I learn. I fall flat on my face, right? By the way, we learn more losing than we ever do winning.
Every time.
Right?
Every
time.
And
so, you know, now I'm here to help guide you through. Right. And it's like, he's like, it's just amazing to me. It's just, and it's like, well, okay, but here's the deal, right? This is what we need to be doing as adults, men and women. If we see somebody that's sort of going off track, we need to stop and take the time to connect with them and to help them get back on track, get back where they need to be. It's a big, big deal. And I'm really glad that we had a chance to talk about this. So thank you for letting me jump on my soapbox for a second.
I think it's so needed in the world. I think mentorship, proper mentorship is needed now more than any way. And I can't tell you how so many men and women have come across my life, even when I wasn't ready, right? When I wasn't ready to read the road signs, I call them road signs. And you have to work on your self-awareness and self-esteem and self-confidence in order to wear those road signs. But these mentors, whether they meant to be mentors or not, they were. And I've also had mentors that showed me who I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
And so I think mentorship now is needed more than ever before. I think we're the most connected we've ever been, but we're also the most isolated we've ever been, because we're escaping through technology or through Netflix or through our phones. And I think we're lonelier than we've ever been. I think a lot of high achievers in our space, I think they isolate when they get overwhelmed, worried. And so mentorship, it's meant the world to me. I'm in the success mentorship space. It's what I do for a living. And I truly enjoy it, watching people make impact and become fulfilled. And I want it just as bad for them. And the truth is because I want it for myself.
Yeah.
And so it's something I'm very passionate about. So thank you for sharing that, Mike. And thank you for mentoring that young man. And that, for audience, this is what we were talking offline about.
Yeah.
And it just pulling at each other's heartstrings. And luckily for him, if not now, it's when he's going to be like, those are some of the most impactful moments because of Mr. Mike Litton. That's what he's going to remember. And just think about the pain he's going through of the loss of his father, the loss of the patriarch, the loss of this business mogul. It's going to leave a big hole for his life. And thank goodness you're there to fill a little bit of it.
Well, it's one of those things where nobody was able to reach him.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's why we're writing the book we're writing. Like I shared with you, we're writing a book about the power of questions, because nobody had ever asked this kid a question in his life. All they had done is order him around. So when I showed up on the scene, right, he didn't really know me that much. He'd met me twice. Okay. He didn't know me that well. And I started asking him questions, and it was like I was talking Martian to him. Right? Because nobody had ever done that. People had always told him, go here, go there, do this, do that. Right? And that's fine. You have to instruct your kids. I get it. I get all that. It's just, you also need to find out how they feel. You need to find out what's going on with them. You need to find out what's happiness to them, right? What to them, what's that look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? And it's a big, big deal, I think, for us to be able to communicate with each other in an effective manner, because like you said, one of the things that's happening with technology is we're being separated. We're being separated into tribes. Well, the thing that's going to basically bring that back to, by the way, I don't know how many young people you've met, right? But this young man that I'm working with, I keep telling him, I keep saying to him, I need you to look at me.
Oof.
I need you to look at me. I need you to look me in the eye. Okay? Look me in the eye. Look at me. And he's constantly looking down. He's constantly looking away. He's constantly breaking eye contact. And it's because he doesn't understand how to effectively communicate. Nobody's ever taught him.
Yeah.
And so we're doing that, at little at a time, but we're doing that. And I know that he feels like he's drinking from a fire hose, but I'm trying to catch him up, right? And I'm trying to get him back to a place to where he feels like the world is on his side and not against him, because he really does feel like he's in a corner. And it's scary. It's really scary. The good news is they just had spring break last week, and he was a model kid.
Oh,
he was a model kid. We took him from the last time they took him to school. He called the police on his own mother and claimed that he was being kidnapped. Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Police showed up, the whole thing. He punched a hole in the wall during the last vacation, whole thing. This time he was the model kid. He did everything he was supposed to do to the T. So we had an impact, because the only difference between then and now is the time that he and I have spent together.
Yeah.
Right. So we're making progress, and that's what the book is about. The book is about how to reach people, right? And how to reach them on a level that they've never been reached before, and that you've never been able to reach before. So anyway, I'm excited that you're going to be a part of it, bud. So
it's going to be fun.
In high school, did you have a favorite subject?
Probably history. I've always been I'm still a history nerd.
I get that about you.
Yeah, I'm still a history nerd. I read incessantly. All these books behind me, I've read 90% of them, more than once probably.
Yeah.
So I love history. I love learning from history. I love learning about great people. But one of the things I love learning about great people is they're just humans like you and I.
Yeah.
They had their idiosyncrasies. Most of them had massive failures. If you can't see it right now, but I have a bust of Alexander Hamilton somewhere around here. We just moved into this office,
Yeah.
but he's one of my heroes in life, Abraham Lincoln, and they were just men. They made mistakes. They made big mistakes, but they did great things. And we talked about this earlier, failing forward. You never learn anything from winning, because either you're playing the wrong game, or you peaked out. Then it's when you lose and fail forward, but don't quit and stay consistent and don't give up. And I think watching a Winston Churchill, a Gandhi, an MLK, these are all heroes of mine, and learning about them, but learning that they're just human beings.
Yeah.
In the human experience, they just decided to make a great impact. And so history would have been my favorite subject.
Yeah. And
still is.
What I love the most about history is we can learn from other people's mistakes, right? And not replicate them. Okay. There's a very wise man that once said, those who ignore history tend to repeat it. It's absolutely the last thing in the world you want. So in high school, did you have a favorite teacher?
That's a good question too. I had a least favorite teacher in high school for sure. I won't mention
one of
that
those not to do, people.
I really want to say this too, and then we'll come back and let me think on that as I'm answering this. I've been reading a lot of Stoicism lately, and so you're talking Roman and Greek times, right?
Wow. Yeah.
But reading the meditations of Marcus Aurelius, or reading just some of the writings from Ryan Holiday on Stoicism and the people that we're talking thousands of years ago, same problems, same issues, same challenges.
Amazing.
They just didn't have the tech. I mean, it's almost verbatim, and watching us repeat our history over and over again, because we're not learning from it, right? And so they had the same challenges we did, and it's just interesting and fascinating to look at that. Favorite teacher in high school? I can't remember having, I've blighted most of my high school days out for a lot of different reasons. Yes, I did. And I cannot remember his name. I was thinking about this the other day.
It's okay.
Got me into business, and I need to go look at my yearbook, which is packed up, like we talked about moving offices. And I was mentioning this guy. He was a marketing professor, and he was so passionate about business. He was so passionate about Kroger, believe it or not, and how Kroger did everything. Every time the man spoke, I was inspired. I was motivated. I've been in business ever since then. And when I finally went to school, I went to business school and went out to school. I went and worked in business. Now I'm an entrepreneur in multiple businesses. But his love of business, his way of teaching, and how he did it, and how he helped. I'm going to find his name, and forgive me for not remembering it, but man, he made a huge impact on my life, and it helped me to be where I am today. And so my marketing professor in my senior year was absolutely my favorite teacher.
Amazing. Isn't it amazing?
Isn't it
amazing how teachers just grab you?
Yes.
And it's like, it's absolutely true that when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Absolutely.
That's the truth, so it's amazing. So after high school, where do you go?
Jail. I'm not kidding. And I'll go ahead and tell you the story now, and I'll tell you why. What's crazy is I was going to be, I was scheduled to be, and had full ride scholarships to the University of Miami, University of Georgia, Brevard, all of these great. No one in my family had ever gone to or graduated college. They never have. And unfortunately, and this is a huge part of my story that I used to not tell, because I was insecure about it. I was fearful about it. It was taboo. And unfortunately, at 18 years old, I'm getting ready. I've got all these full scholarships to these universities, and I'm going to get out of my neighborhood and get out of this place and go make something of myself. Unfortunately, I started running with the wrong people before that, and I became what I hated. I became that violence and abuse, and at 18 years old, committed a violent crime and was facing 7 years in prison.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not kidding. And so, for lack of a better word, my future was postponed at a minimum, and I thought it was ruined. I thought my life was over. And so, by the grace of God and the fact that it was one of my first offenses, my first offense is they dropped it down to 2 heavy misdemeanors. But I was sentenced to 2 years and ended up spending my 19th birthday in jail. And that's where that African-American gentleman decided to cross racial boundaries. People don't do that.
Yeah.
Cross racial boundaries. Here I am, 18 years old. Here he is in his mid 40s, and holding me account, calling young blood, you're going to be on the path. He got me into work release programs. So I was working during the day. I wasn't getting caught up in that. So there was all of this angel moments happening during that time.
Yeah.
And so after high school, and I'll finish this part of the story, is through his mentorship and through with me not ever wanting to go back into a facility like that and or go back to the neighborhood or the way I was raised. I went and worked in a nuclear waste container factory, operating a machine for $6 an hour during the day, community college at night, putting myself through school. By the way, that factory was brutal work. It cost me a back surgery, a hernia surgery. It's brutal, $6 an hour. Then I put myself through community college at night. Did end up at the University of Georgia. I did end up quitting that job and leaving the community college. Did end up in the University of Georgia. So in 3.5 years, I went from a jail cell to a factory to community college to the University of Georgia. By the way, go Dogs.
Yeah, go.
And then I graduated and went to work for a company called Deloitte. So literally from a cage to Deloitte in 3.5 years. One of the things I have a great sense of humble pride about is picking myself up, dusting myself off, and excelling at college. I knew a blue collar boy like me was going to have to make great grades, and I did that, and never looked back. And that started me into the world of public accounting, mergers and acquisitions, and finance. And so that was my story from high school to graduating the University of Georgia.
Wow, that's incredible, man. That's a wild 3 years.
Yeah. Probably most challenging, most fun 3 years of my entire life.
Yeah.
Even being completely humbled like that when they take away freedom, and I earned it. So I'm not one of those people that didn't deserve, a lot of people say, well, I'm not innocent. No, I wasn't. And it got me out of running with the people I was running.
Yeah.
It got me in front of an unbelievable mentor. It humbled me to the point where they take your freedom and dignity from you. All you got left is, stand head up, shoulders back, and get through it. And then knowing what I didn't want in my life anymore and having him in my life. And then doing the work at community college at night, doing the brutal factory work where I had some great fun, made some great friends. But I knew this is not the path I wanted to be on. Then going to the University of Georgia, you talked about being a Martian. I'd never seen anything like that. I mean, I grew up pretty humbly, and to go up there and 18-year-olds are driving BMWs and people are smiling and happy and learning and partying and doing all the things. It was like being transplanted to a different place and seeing a different life and seeing different people. And so some of the most challenging, but some of the most rewarding and fun times in my life right after that high school place. And then once you start cranking in work, you never look back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what was the mentor's name? The guy that was in
Tony.
Was it jail?
It was jail.
Tony. Okay. Well, shout out to Tony. Good job, Tony.
He's got to be, if he's still with us, we lost touch after 4 or 5 years after that for all the right reasons, for mutually right reasons. But I'm guessing he would be late 70s, early 80s. So hopefully he's still with us.
Yeah, I hope so. And if he is, he's impacting young people. I guarantee it.
Guarantee it.
So you end up going to Deloitte. How does that happen? So you go from a jail cell, right, to keeping yourself busy. By the way, there's a lesson here.
Yeah.
Right? Idle hands. Okay. There's a lesson here. You stayed occupied. You stayed busy. You stayed engaged. You didn't have a lot of time to go out and get in trouble. Not that you
didn't have any time nor the money.
Yeah. Right. So, and for you to focus on this and keep yourself busy, it seems like that was sort of the recipe for success. So you go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike, please.
So you leave, you graduate from Georgia, right? And you end up at Deloitte. Talk about how that happened.
Yeah, for people who don't know what Deloitte is, it's one of the top 4 public accounting, mergers and acquisitions, and consulting firms in the world. Certainly the top 6, but probably the top 4. And it's the equivalent of getting a job at the New York Yankees. And so in that world. And
exactly.
So how I did it was exactly what you said. I didn't know, I knew I wanted to be in business, and I knew I didn't have a choice but to get a job because I was financing all of my school. I was doing it through credit card and loans. And so I didn't have any money. And so it's easy not to get in trouble when you don't have time and you don't have money. And I've already been in trouble and I don't want to do that anymore. I just didn't want to, I'm not going that direction.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. And during that time, I ended up meeting my wife too, who became one of the most influential people in my life. And this is true. And I'll give you the how I did it in a second. Is she was 19 years old and I was 21. And she looked at me within the first 4 meetings, and we were in a business fraternity together. She was in my accounting classes. So we were both in accounting class. And about the 4th time, and remember, I'm a young man, and she goes, "You don't know this yet, but I'm going to marry you." And at first I thought it was a little strange, but she wasn't kidding. She wasn't kidding. She wasn't being crazy, but she's like, "This is going to happen." And here 6 years later, after she became my best friend and all these other things happened, I met some of my lifelong friends there as well. But what I did is I knew I had to get a job because I'm going to have massive debt when I get out of here. Accounting was hiring at the time. So I switched majors multiple times from marketing to real estate to insurance. But within my first 3 years, and this was, I'm a extreme ownership kind of guy, but I didn't make any B's. So I'm on the president's list. I'm on the dean's list. I'm involved in a business fraternity. Then I got invited to be in all these honors fraternities, business honors fraternities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, believe it or not, there was a bidding war for me because I was vice president of the highest level accounting honors fraternity you could be in. I knew the big 4 recruited out of there. I knew law recruited out of there. I knew all the big boys and some of the big consulting and the big firms in Atlanta recruited out of there. So it became very easy. I was very calculated with my studies. I was luckily to be gifted enough to be good at school. I was a good test taker. I'm also, and I'm not being hubris here, I've been humbled too many times in my life. But thank God I was born with a gift of gab and some charisma. And so through all of that, through hard work, through great grades, getting involved with the right people, surrounding myself with the right people, including Heather, who's my wife, who now is a CFO of a major organization that you and I talked about offline. And we're also multiple business owners. So all of that hard work, staying consistent, staying focused, having some fun, surrounding myself with the right people, not quitting, not giving up, not getting in my own way anymore. That all led to Deloitte, and here we are today, a lot of years later. And I stayed in that career, moved around to different firms, but I eventually became a partner, a shareholder, the international practice leader, and the member of the board of directors at 39 of a major M&A valuation and accounting firm in the Southeast United States. So I stayed in that career almost 18 years. And so I was in and around a long time.
That's cool, man. That's really cool. What an amazing story, though. Going from jail cell to Deloitte in 3 years. And it's a real testament to your character and how you're built that you just got after it, right? You pinned your ears back and went for it. Obviously, staying busy is a big deal, but there are a lot of people that stay busy and they don't succeed like you did. So that really says a lot.
And I think there's 2 things there too. And I think you're saying it. And the way we say it here at Legendary is you got to be very intentional about the actions you take.
Yeah.
So action for action's sake is just hamster wheel. You've gone a long way, brother, but you went the wrong way. It's just action. And intention without any kind of action is just hopes, dreams, desires, goals. And those are delusion without action.
It's empty.
It's just empty nonsense. And so it's not focused. It's not consistent. It has no vision in it. And so we call that here in taking intentional action. And I think everything you do, because every action and choice you make, you're giving up your life for it.
Yeah.
Every single one of them, whatever you choose. If you're choosing to do 4 hours of Netflix a night, you're giving 4 hours of your life and your depreciating asset of your humanity to watch Netflix. And that's not intentional to me. That doesn't move the ball. It's not impactful. It's not helping me or helping anyone else. And so I think I put words to it later than life. And this is just a sad fact. There's only 2 Breedloves. I have a sibling, and and I don't know the reason for this. But the sibling never really was for most of her life has not been a really functioning member of society. she never could get through the pain. She never could get past the abuse. And what we're seeing she's 60 years old, and what we're seeing happen in her life and physical life and mental life real time. And I don't know. And I pray for her every day, brother, but I can't, she has to participate in her own rescue. I can't save her life. She's got to want it.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've tried for years and years and years, and I don't like the word try at all. I can't stand it, actually. You see Yoda over my shoulder, do or do not, there is no try. But I worked for many, many years but I've always been her baby brother. Right. And she doesn't want to take wisdom or sees me and it's quite sad that via the choices she made and then the choices I made, that we've come to very, very different places. And I think, honestly, if I had to sum it up, you and I've talked about it, I kind of embrace fear. And I think the only thing to do with fear is take action. Again, take intentional action. It's the only thing that doesn't like fear. Fear hates momentum.
Yeah.
And so I never let the fear consume me. I don't mind failing. I don't mind messing up. I don't mind having egg on my face. I don't let people who don't matter. I simply do not. And so there are people who are important to me. There are people whose opinions matter to me. There are people I want wisdom from. There are people I want to kick me in the face when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But I think our pain tolerance and how we interact to fear and failure and people pleasing, I just think we went in very, very different directions. And, I'm just going to send a shout out and love to her from afar. She'll never listen to this podcast, but the energy's out there, brother.
Hey, you never know, baby. You never know, Mike. We're trying to reach everybody.
I know millions of people listen to this thing.
That's right. We're trying to reach everybody.
She'll be 1,000,001.
That's right. That's right. You never know. You absolutely never know. Well, shout out to your sister. We hope things improve for sure. Let me just ask you this, because I know I'm focusing on this probably more than I should, but that 3-year period, what's the one thing, the most important thing you learned in that period?
To learn.
Yeah.
The most important thing is to learn. I think the most is applied knowledge.
Yeah.
I think gaining wisdom and knowledge from people who are ahead of you. I think humbling yourself, learning to learn and loving to learn. But again, one of the biggest sins in life is unapplied knowledge. And again, that's the action part of the intention, right? And I think being a fire hose from mentors, from teachers, from professors, to loving to learn and taking those learnings and applying them into my life, and using those learnings to help myself compete, to help myself be of use, to help myself be of impact. I think, I could put my finger, I could literally give.
Did you know there's an app that has no side effects that allows you to use sound waves to tell your brain what you want it to do? It's called newcalm.com, and it's amazing. It literally uses sound waves. If you want to tell your brain to go to sleep, if you want to tell your brain to recover, if you want to tell your brain to put you in peak physical state, if you want to tell your brain to focus, if you want to tell your brain to take a power nap, you can do all of these things and more with newcalm.com. Go to newcalm.com today, promo code Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go there today.
People for formula for success. The problem is it takes a long time. Rome's not built over a day. Careers aren't built over a day. And Amazon and Teslas aren't built. I mean, those are lifelong journeys of pain, suffering, and all the things. But I think learning to learn was the thing I learned. I think humility. I think I was a very prideful young man, an arrogant young man, and actually lost that humility and pride for a while. And that's what led me to Legendary and led me to being an entrepreneur. We'll get to that further out through the story process here. But I think loving learnings and always being a curious first and critical second and a learner and not a knower has paid dividends in my life. In fact, in Legendary, our company, Legendary, in our mastermind programs, our retreats and experiences, we have these leadership principles that we aspire to live by, that our entrepreneurs and executives or aspiring entrepreneurs, executives aspire to live by. And 2 of them, one of them is being curious first and critical second. Easier said than done. Just because it's simple doesn't make it easy, but always being a learner and not a knower. And I think when human beings become knowers and we become certain of anything, we become very, very dangerous people. So that was a very long-winded answer of what was my biggest learnings in those 3 years.
Well, I agree with you. I believe we become dangerous, but I also believe we become less effective.
100%.
Okay, because when we're somebody who knows all the answers and we're done learning, we're done.
Yeah,
We're done. That's it. Okay. One of the things I did with my 24 and 26-year-olds individually was I said, look, I want you to go print out a piece of paper, right? I want you to pull up Microsoft Word, and on the top of it, I want you to write, stay in curiosity. And at the bottom, I want you to write, stay out of judgment.
Mm.
And I want you to print it, and I want you to put it up in front of wherever you work so you see it several times a day. Okay. There's way too much judgment in this world. There's way too much of this being critical thing that you're talking about going on. There's not enough in the way of curiosity. That's where the power of questions come in, right?
Yeah.
Because it's literally about connecting with another human being. And the way I know that you can connect with another human being is by asking great questions. The better the question, the better the answers you're going to get, right?
Agreed.
So at some point, you decide to write a book. And there are people that are listening to this that are thinking about writing a book. I shared with you that I'm writing 7, right? And we're starting the first one right now as we speak, right? And we're kind enough to agree to be a part of it. So talk a little bit about the thought process, the mindset that it took you to decide to do this. And then what was the number one thing you learned writing the book?
Hold me to account on those questions. I think the final part of my story is going to answer a lot of this question.
Yeah.
And so at 36 years old, and this is going to lead directly to Legendary, the book, the company, writing the book, who and how, in the fist fight with myself for 3 years, writing the book, and what book eventually became the Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling book, Legendary. And so let me start at 35 years old or 36, right around that time period. You would have looked at me, Mike, and said, this guy has it all figured out. I've got the shiny watch. I've got the cufflinks, the fancy suit, the corner office. I was a junior partner in the firm, getting ready to be a senior partner in the firm. I'm a young man, and I've hair on fire, reels on fire. But the truth is, I was lonely, lost, scared, insecure, and angry. And when the money, and money's just a tool. It's important, but it's a magnifying glass. And so when the money that I was earning and it didn't fill me up, when the status, the power, the respect, honestly, brother, I never dealt with the demons of the violence and abuse as a young man. And deep down inside, I was self-sabotaging and didn't know it. And so at 36, when I thought, success is happiness and success is important, making an impact is important, but the money, all the shiny objects didn't fulfill me. I literally almost lost everything at 35 and 36 through self-sabotaging habits. And I literally woke up in a ditch looking at the blue sky after 3 days of pure chaos. I was literally living the Wolf of Wall Street lifestyle, just trying to find some wholeness and power and, looking for love. There's a country song, looking for love and self-esteem in all the wrong places. And so at 36, I said, enough. I'm not going to live a lie anymore. I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not. I'm going to figure out who Tommy is. I'm going to figure out where he's going, who's coming with me. So honestly, and I'm going to just be very transparent and vulnerable, through incredible counselors and therapists, through world-class executive coaches and life coaches, I said, enough. I'm going to participate in my own rescue. I looked in the mirror and said, the only common denominator of your pain is you. It's no one else's fault. You're it, dude. This is where the buck stops. You're it. And either you're going to do something about it or you're going to die. Yeah. I didn't want to die. And this is number 2, right? I don't get a number 3.
Right.
And so I said enough. And luckily, by the grace of God, my wife and I started doing all this work together too. She started getting executive coaches and life coaches, and we did the therapy together. And we just started building our lives. We just started working on our self-confidence, our self-esteem, our self-love, our self-respect, so that we could lead, love, and respect each other better. And honestly, I was still a senior executive at this big firm. And so I could lead there. And here's the most remarkable thing. When I made my personal and professional self-development my number one priority, so as my wife, in 3 short years, the number of threes, right? Junior partner, senior partner, shareholder, international practice leader, elected to the board of directors at this big firm at 39. Everybody else is in their 60s. And so there I am at 39 at the board, just by being a good human, just by loving myself and respecting myself and being kind and actually living my core values. They saw this massive change in me. Money doubled. I mean, here I am on the top of the world, but now I was at peace. I was making impact. I was fulfilled. Success seemed to be coming easy, but it wasn't, because I was working on my heart, mind, and soul just as much as I was my craft.
Yeah.
And so now we're getting to the book. And so here I am at 39 years old, my financial future set. I'm an equity owner and senior partner of this firm. I'm on the board. And all of these executives and entrepreneurs, or young executives and entrepreneurs, really your high achieving, ambitious types, started reaching out to me. And, I was in the business world and I was here to do business. And they would ask me to go for a beer or go for a walk or grab lunch or coffee. And none of them wanted to talk about how we could do more business together. They want to talk about how I did it, how I went from being angry and arrogant to calm and humble, how I went from this level of success to an extreme level of success in such a smart period. How did I go from being one of the most hated and arrogant, which arrogance is just insecurity on steroid, person, to one of the most beloved in this world? And so through all of these meetings, through all of my coaches, I started giving them the gift of going second. Started giving them the gift of telling them how much pain I was in and how I hated myself and my self-sabotage. And here's what that looked like. On the outside, it looked like this. And on the inside, it looked like this. And behind the scenes in my personal life, it looked like this. And I was living 5 lives, and it was exhausting because I was never comfortable being Tommy. I wanted to be a character in a play. And they're like, holy cow. Then they started sharing their stories. It gave them the gift of authenticity. It gave them the gift of vulnerability. And it gave them the gift of asking for help and say, man, I've got those same things. It didn't matter if it's men or women, people who are more go-getters, we have the same struggles and same pains, man. And so through mentors, and I joined masterminds and was involved in, I hired coaches all around me just to help sharpen my pencil and make me better and stronger and more elite. And through all of those interactions, when I started not worrying about my taboo story as a young man and at 36, they're like, you need to tell that story because it could either change or save someone's life. And so over a 3-year period, I wrote Legendary it's fun, it's short, it's tactical, but it has a lot of easy to-dos. And the book takes them through a journey of giving people what they want: more purpose, more network, more money, more confidence, more all the things that we want. And then the second half of the book gives them what they need: mastering your mindset, unconditional love of yourself, more, forgiveness, all the things that we have to work on. So it's a tactical playbook, and it was a 3-year fist fight. In fact, it was through encouragement of others. And the book for 3 years was all about me. I didn't like it. It felt hubris. It felt arrogant. I went through this process of who's going to read it, who cares, I'm a nobody, blah, blah, the things, the voices in our head. And then one moment I called the publisher one night. And so I had an editor, I had a publisher, I had all these consultants helping me on this book. And I was like, scratch it. The book's terrible. I'm terrible. I'm sorry to waste your time. Let me know if I owe you some money. I'll pay you. And then I'm just going to be very transparent. I had a little bit of too much whiskey that night because I was in my head. And I'm going to give a shout out to this whiskey maker. It's called Angel's Envy Rye. And I was having a pity party. I'm like, I'm just terrible, blah, 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 blah. All the nonsense the stuff that I've been working on now forever. In this voice, I'll call it a God moment, said, it's not lost to me. It's called Angel's Envy. It said, make it about them. Don't make it about you. And the chapters literally just appeared in my heart. So I resent an email to all those people saying, hey, and they were in Baltimore, Colorado, New York. I mean, they're all over the place. I'm like, hey, I'd love to axe what I just said. Can you ignore the previous email? And can I get you on a call sometime this week? And we got on a call and I showed him the chapters. And from that moment forward, Legendary was written. And the reason I called it Legendary is it's aspirational. Legendary is a title that's given to us, and we can either be great or poor legends, but it's given to us by our peers, our communities, our colleagues, the people we impact negatively or positive. So it's an aspirational book. It's an aspirational title that I hope to someday live up to. And the chapters appeared to me, and I wrote the book in 3 months. And that's, I think, because I made it about helping others. I didn't make it about me. And I put my ego. There's probably 8 pages of the story we shared here in the book about me, and the rest of it inspiring stories about but tactics. This is how you do it. This is the roadmap for how I did it. Not only external success, which we all want, external status and power, which we all want, but internal, confidence and self-esteem, and letting that voice go, and really not letting others that don't matter. And so it's this playbook. And I think that's why it became a Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller. And what I would tell, and I think to answer your final question, if you cannot make it about you, now every person's stories matters. And everybody has their pain, their tragedies, their triumphs, and your story needs to be shared. And if you will impact, first of all, you're going to impact yourself, because writing a book's like, it's like creating a child. You're putting yourself out to the world.
Yeah.
And it's not about, because people are going to love it. And your tribe's going to love it, and who you are. And someone's going to be touched by your story. And so, or if it's fiction, good for you, man, because that's a whole different level of creativity and goodness. I think that's a God-given gift. But if you want to if you just touch one person, plus it gives you credibility. It helps get your story out there. It's a fun thing to talk about at dinner parties. It's an impactful thing to talk about at dinner parties. You get to put a sense of yourself out there. You get to put, not Legendary is not for everybody. I could be chocolate and somebody's looking for strawberry. Maybe your book is the strawberry that they're looking for, right? And so once I put my ego aside, once I just made it about someone else and not me, when I made it about the tools of servitude and the tools of service, Legendary was born, in an entire company and ecosystem and masterminds and communities and all of these wonderful live experiences and retreats and adventure things we do. It was born, and I never even saw any of that coming. I just wanted to get a story out to the world to hopefully not impact 1 or 2 people, but to impact a few people. And thank goodness we have done that. And so I hope that answered all your questions, Mike, but I think it was super important of how, and eventually I sold my equity in the firm. Eventually I retired from my financial certainty was certain to go chase this entrepreneurial dream, and Legendary helped me do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like that is incredibly important, what you just shared. And the reason is, there's years ago, I landed in a hospital, an emergency room for 7 hours. Okay. And they told me, they said, you're 51 years old and you're going to die way too early. Okay. And, I had a daughter that was a senior in high school. I had a son that was a freshman in college. I've got aisles to walk down. I've got grandbabies. I've got a life coming. Right. And it shocked me to a place to where I stopped this loop in my head. And the loop in my head was this lie that I had. And a lot of people, I feel like, have it, where they have this lie going on that they have to take care of everybody else first and themselves second. There's a reason when you're on an airplane that they have you put your oxygen mask on first and then help somebody. Because if you can't breathe, you can't function, right? And if you don't take care of you, you can't go help them, right? The better you do with you, the better you're going to do taking care of the people you love and the people that you care about. And I love the fact that God spoke to you and said, make it about them, right? It's not about us. It's about what we can do to help them. And that, I believe, is the single biggest thing that's happened to you in your life in terms of, well, your wife. Let's be honest. It's your wife, right? Because I'm going to be honest with you. She's your true north, right? Yeah, she's literally your true north. And thank God for her,
Yeah.
And I mean, I
hope she loved me when I couldn't love me, right?
I hope one of these days I get to meet her, because I just think she's amazing. So yes, that was an amazing answer. So do you mind if we talk about a couple of the hot points with your book?
100%. I want you to see the sign. Hopefully I'm still behind me. It says participate in your own rescue.
Yeah.
That was given to me by a dear friend and
That's
a member of our community and a therapist. And I'm telling you, the number one, and we say it this way, and then we'll get into the book as much as you want. We say it this way: the most selfless thing you can do is working on your heart, mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
It's the absolute most selfless thing. You can't outperform how you feel, and you are your beliefs. And so when you start participating in your own rescue, you say, enough, I'm going to figure out how to be more happy, more fulfilled, make more income, more successful. No longer will I be angry, judgmental, cynical. No longer will I live this way. When you say no more, but you go do something about it. You surround yourself with coaches. You read everything you can get and apply everything. You start changing who you hang out with. You don't tolerate negative people anymore, but you also you're going to work on you not being a negative person. Think about how we talk to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when you make you your number one priority, it's A, the most selfless thing you can do. And B, your thermostat and battery raise and your energy level raises, who you attract into your life raises. It sounds super woo-woo, but I have seen it time and time and time again and in my life. So you're absolutely right,
I
brother.
tell people all the time, the only person that you have to blame for what you let in is you. You're the only person that you have to blame. When I said that to Mark Victor Hansen said, wow, I've never heard it put that way. I'm writing that down. I'm going to be stealing it. I'm like, take it. We're good.
Take it away.
Yeah, right. It was amazing. Yes. So in your book, you talk about achieving greater financial and business success. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah. So I think you and I have hit on it over and over and over again. Number one thing is you must take intentional action.
Purposeful. You got to be on purpose.
You got to be on purpose. And if you don't know what your purpose is, call me. I can help you figure it out fast. Or you can I can read the book to you on Audible, or you can choose to read it. There's an entire section on purpose. And so any success in life is about the reps. And so for me, you've got to level up your mindset and you've got to level up your craft. And to me, the most powerful thing you can be is confident. Yeah. Not only confident in what you do, confident in who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And your confidence, being world-class and working on the reps of what you do and doing it every day. I'll equate to basketball, shooting the hoops, dribbling every single day, getting in the gym earlier every single day. Same thing goes in your business. That's where you start leveling up your craft. That's where you become elite. That's where you become a pro. And you need to make it a part of who you are, but you also have to keep leveling up that self-confidence.
Yeah.
So there is a money mindset, and there's something that's where you level up how you feel about money, how you think about money. You know that money is a tool. Money is only a value exchange. It is not going to make you or break you. And if I handed you $1 million and you don't have a money mindset and you haven't leveled up your thermostat, you're going to go right back down to where you were before.
Yeah.
We go deep into the book about how you have to level up, how you think about money, how you feel about money, your money mindset, and how, the spirituality around money, success, creation of wealth, et cetera. You've got to level that up, because that's why 99.9% of all lottery winners, are bankrupt within 3 to 5 years. It's because they never leveled up their knowledge, their mindset, their heart space, their spirituality around money, and they just lose it.
That's exactly what I thought of when you were saying that.
You got to level that up. And then you've got to learn about how to be more successful. You've got to learn how to be a better leader. You've got to learn how to generate wealth. You have to value your time, energy, and attention over everything else, because you are your number one asset. You got to protect your time. You got to protect your energy. You got to protect your attention. And your attention is the most intimate thing you can give people. And where are you giving your attention? And so to me, financial wealth, confidence, do you have the tools? Do you understand? If you're an entrepreneur, do you understand basic accounting? If you're, work, do you understand basic finance, leasing versus debt? Do you understand investing? The knowledge is everywhere. It's literally everywhere. But are you learning about it and applying it? Or are you waiting on the elevator as success while everybody else is already climbing the mountain?
Yeah.
And, I think people are just waiting for someone to save them, waiting for some success, or even worse. And this is the path to financial success and business success and abundance. But you got to turn off the noise, man. You can't have toxicity, negativity, and all that pouring in your heart, mind, and soul, and then go out being happy and successful. You can't do it.
Yeah.
So pros shut it all down and they shut it all off and they focus on the main thing. It looks like I'm all over social media. I am not.
Yeah.
I don't particularly watch TV very often. I don't want any of that negative noise in my heart, mind, and soul. I don't need to know everything that's happening. I never watch the news, and I am never uninformed because someone tells me about the news.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's hyper focus. It's constant professional and personal development. It's leveling up your thermostat and mindset through a whole bunch of different tools that we don't have the time to talk to. They're all in Legendary. They're all in a whole lot of other places and books. But what are you doing to participate in it? What are you doing to take action and intentional action?
Yeah.
And I promise you this, trust me, I know you can be a very successful financially person and successful in business and still be miserably angry, unfulfilled. They're everywhere. And I was one of them.
Yep, me too.
And when I extrapolated more of self-love and made it about impact and started working on my heart, mind, soul, and body, I'm telling you, the level of success, the differences in all of that, your energy literally changes. So that's a really big way of saying all of it. But I would ask your audience to do one thing. Like, what's one area you want to level up in? Is it your happiness? Study happiness and apply. Is it finance? Study finance and apply. Is it, where do you want to level up? But again, if you're angry, judgmental, cynical, all the things, fearful, worried, start there because it's going to be hard to overcome everything else if you're not working on that.
Yeah, because you're stuck in a pattern.
You're going to be stuck.
You're stuck. There's no way to get out of it unless you take action and take one foot in front of the other and get out of it. So
that's right. And
one of the other high points
now, media is promoting entitlement. That's a disease.
Yeah.
Treat entitlement. You're not owed anything. No one owes you anything. You're not entitled to nothing. You either go get it and earn it or you don't. It also the big media promotes victimhood. You are a victim. You are a victim. You are a victim. And some people are victims, but what are you going to do? Are you going to make your adversity your advantage or not?
Yeah.
Or are you going to stew in it and blame someone else? It also promotes laziness and apathy, not caring and laziness. We got you. We've got you. We've got you. We've got you. Think big politics. They don't have you and they don't care. They have themselves. And so we're promoting these things and we're inundated with it. And if you're seeing them, hearing them all day and it's poison, you're going to start believing them.
Yeah.
So maybe the first thing you do is shut it all off, pick up Legendary, listen to it, read it, and go forward. So I'm off my soapbox. I
totally agree. People need to read this book or listen to it, or however they
I'll read it to you in my Southern accent.
Absolutely. So however they consume, books, they need to do this. Another high point is lead others with courage, conviction, and passion. Probably one of my favorite parts of your book. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah. So there's all types of leaders. There's the commanding leader who's, says one thing and does another. There's the leaders who lack self-confidence and they want to be the top dog. And so they want to be everybody to see them, love them, and they don't want to surround themselves with people who lift them up and make them better.
Yeah.
And so every single person that we employ in our two companies, whether it's our boutique hotel and restaurant or it's at Legendary, I literally want all those people to be more happy and more successful than me. And for us as leaders, we've got to figure out what the self-interest of our employees is and help them go get it. They need to see their vision underneath our vision. They need to know where we're going, why we're going this way, what impact we're going to make, what purpose we have, what are our core values, and they got to see their vision under our vision. If you make it about you, you're not serving it. You're making it about your ego. And anytime my ego's in charge, my soul is dying.
Yeah.
And so for us as leaders, we have to have a servant's heart. We have to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. Standards matter. We have something called leading with love, and our boundaries is addicted to excellence. Part of our leading with love is you're going to meet this standard or we're going to liberate you to the marketplace. And so our core values are non-negotiable. Our standards are non-negotiable. Our purpose is non-negotiable, how we want to make impact. If you want to come work for Legendary, hopefully you can see your vision underneath our vision, and we're going to help you go get your vision. We're going to figure out what your self-interest is and help you go get that. We're going to be servants. We're going to help you be better than us. We're going to give you all the tools for success. But again, this is all about not about Tommy Breedlove as the figurehead, the face of the organization and the leader. It's all about helping them lift up to be better than me and, God willing, be more successful and make more impact than me. And I think when we get ourselves out of the way, but I think all great leaders and coaches have one thing in common. They surround themselves with other great coaches and great leaders. They belong to groups who help lift them up, who help make them accountable, who help them grow. They're constantly investing in themselves and their craft. And so I don't just do this for a living. I have coaches that I work with now. I am in masterminds that I belong to now. I go to programs and constantly level up so that I can come back and teach this stuff. And so hopefully they will master it as well. So leadership is our book too, by the way. So book 1 of Legendary is all about internal leadership and how to be more impactful and successful. Legacy is going to be about how leading others, how to make an impact in other people's lives, and how to be a servant leader, and what are the traits of leadership, and what do A players want, and all that good stuff. So that's going to be book 2 of mine, Legacy.
Is that coming?
It's coming. It's all in my head and heart right now, but it's coming faster now than ever before.
So when you're
called out of me.
When you're ready to promote it, come back on. We'd love to have you.
Thank you, brother. Okay. We'll do. Okay. All of my keynoting right now is book 2. We're doing a lot of keynotes around corporations, and it's all on leadership, building culture, attracting and retaining the best and brightest. And it's having a lot of impact on people, but it's also making them really self-reflect, is this truly me or not? And here's another impactful way of leaders is, whether you're a mother or father, ask how you can parent better and love them better. If you're a leader, how do I lead you better? Because you have blind spots. Mm-hmm. What do you need from me? How can I lead you better? How can I help you be more successful? But the key is to listen to it. When you ask these impactful questions, you got to listen to it and actually do it.
So if you're a leader, so we interviewed a lady a couple months ago that worked for the CEO of Whataburger, who is
built one in my town, by the way.
Yeah, he's absolutely my dad's favorite burger in the world, by the way. He's absolutely one of the most legendary leaders in corporate America, period. And she said one of the things that he would do is, no matter where that person was in their company, he would go sit with them, just them, one-on-one, the CEO, and it didn't matter what level this person was. And he would literally sit with them and ask them about them. And then he would write down their responses. The one thing you can do as a leader is get together and connect with the people that you're leading. Find out what their vision is. Find out where they are in life. Find out how you win with them. One of my favorite things to ask people is, how do I win with you? Right? How can we as an organization win with you? And when they share that with you, write it down, because what it does is it validates them. Okay? They feel validated. And it's one of the things that they need the most, is they need that validation from the people that are their assigned leaders, right? Yeah. It adds to retention. It adds to the fact, like, when you walk in and you're a leader, if you walk in, like you were talking about earlier, these arrogant people that are incredibly insecure, walk in and they want to shout orders at people and say, I want these 3 things done, and I want them done yesterday. And then they walk out the door, versus somebody who walks in and says, listen, we're here and we want to get here. How can you help us get there? What can we do together to achieve this goal? Right? And are you okay with us putting it in writing? Are you okay with us putting a commitment together in writing that you and I sign? All of a sudden, the light goes on. All of a sudden, they start thinking about things. You start getting feedback. They start sharing with you what they think is good, right? Literally, okay? One of the things that we talked about earlier was this thing with social media and how it's driving us apart. We had Scott Mann on here. He's actually been on a couple of times. But he wrote a book called, he's a retired Green Beret. He wrote a book called There's Nobody Coming to Save You. It's a Green Beret's guide to getting big, you know what, done, right? Right. Stuff, right? Not stuff. It's not stuff, but you know what I mean? We're a G-rated show. So he tells this story. He talks about this thing called the churn. If you ever get a chance, you should read it. It's really, he's onto something. I will read it. He's onto something. But one of the things that he talks about in that book is he was hired by this big company to come in and to speak to their people at their annual meeting, right? And he's standing off stage And the CEO gets up and he says, there's hundreds of people in this audience. They all work for the CEO. The CEO gets up and he goes, listen, I'm going to introduce Scott here in a second, our speaker, but I just wanted to go through a real quick slide deck and share with you where we are as a company. He said he looked into the audience, and within seconds of this CEO starting this, going through the slide deck, everybody was on their phones.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. Now, here's where the power of questions comes in. If all that CEO had done is to stand up and say, I'm going to introduce Scott in a minute, but I wanted to go over this slide deck to catch you up to date on how we're doing as a company. You're the ones on the firing line. You're the ones that are making this company successful every day. What do you think these slides say? How do you think we're doing as a company? Anybody want to take a guess? All you have to do, Tommy, is get one or two of them to talk to you. Because once you connect with one of them, and there's hundreds of them, all of a sudden they're not on their phones. They're looking at whoever it is that you're having conversation with as the CEO, and they're trying to figure out if it's somebody they know, right? And they're trying to figure out what it is they're saying. I mean, there's rubbernecking going on like you can't believe, but they're engaged. They're engaged. You with me? That's the difference in the approach. We need to be in a place as leaders where we're discovering all the time. We're constantly in curiosity, and specifically, we're constantly in curiosity when it comes to the people that are working with us. Anyway, that's my take on it. So
there's so much powerful. That was just a 6-minute masterclass in so many different ways, from what you shared about the Green Beret, but there was some wisdom bombs, and I want the audience to hear some of the words that you just said. By asking those great questions and listening, and how do we win together? You're doing a we win commitment. It's showing that you care. And it's showing that I want us to win together, and I want to figure out how do we win together. I'm a big fan of competition, but when you're doing something like that, it's important that we both win. And how do we win together? It's a we win commitment. It's a rare thing practice, but it sounds like you have put it into place. And you've given people extremely powerful gifts. And we alluded to it earlier, but you're giving the gift of your attention, because you're giving them your attention, and people want to be seen, heard, loved, and valued. And you're also given the gift of them of understanding them. Mm-hmm. We win commitment. You've given your attention. You ask great questions. Your curiosity is leading the way. Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more.
And why is that important to you?
You're giving them the gift to understand. Yeah. You're understanding them.
Yeah.
You're seeing them. You're hearing them. You're valuing them, and you're wanting to help them. And it's just such a powerful thing that you're talking about. I just wanted to go back in there, because it was just that 5 minutes of that is worth all the people's time right there.
Well, thanks, buddy. So if somebody wants to become part of the legendary community, how do they go about reaching out to you?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. And so if you're a high achiever and you're looking to be around other high achievers, whether you're just getting started or you're a seasoned executive and entrepreneur, if you want to hang out with people like that, if you want to learn, if you want to grow. And again, the reason we built this community is if we had all the answers, we would already done it.
Yeah.
So when we get together, our live experiences, our legendary conferences, our legendary retreats, our legendary adventure experiences, or in our virtual, because we're nationwide, Mastermind, four times a month, to grow, to learn, to connect, to do business and life together. If that interests you, I'm going to give you my direct email. It's tommy@livelegendary.today. It's tommy@livelegendary.today, or you can just go to livelegendary.today. We have a lot of fun programs coming up. We've got a lot of retreats, adventure experiences. We do a big leadership and networking conference a year. We've got a lot of legendary lives. That's our free give back. It's very similar to what Mike's doing here. We just go live we're going to have Mike on live to our entire network champion. So it's going to be fun. So if this interests you, or the principles of legendary interest you, or you're looking for a community to do business and life with, to grow, to level up, not only in what you do, that's a business and success is a lot of what we do. Probably 60 to 70% of what we do is that way. We're also going to tweak that 30%, get stronger in your life, get stronger in relationships, get stronger in all the important things to you, and hopefully have a little fun along the way. If that interests you, email me directly, tommy@livelegendary.today, or go to livelegendary.today, and you'll see all the programs we've got coming up. So thank you for letting me share that, Mike.
No problem, buddy. So really quickly, that 30% you're talking about, I believe, is more important than anything, because it's the foundation with which everything happens. Everything in your life comes from that 30%. So that's the thing that I think is the most impactful of what you all are teaching and helping people deal with, is that part of it. Because without that, we're nowhere. We're literally nowhere. And that's really where the rubber meets the road with you guys.
I can't agree more, Mike. And here's a little behind the scenes. Here's what people won't know, but I'm gonna go ahead and share it with you. You can't join. We have something called the Inner Circle. It's our highest level mastermind program. It's the one that I facilitate. You cannot even remotely join that unless you commit to our full immersion legendary retreat, which is a 4.5-day all-inclusive vacation to gain clarity, for people to know who they are, where they're going, who's coming with them. They discover their purpose. We dig down to exactly who they are and their core values. And it's also a masterclass, a 4.5-day full immersion masterclass on self-love, self-confidence, mastering your mindset, connecting with other great people. You can't even be in our inner circle without committing to that 4.5-day all-inclusive vacation, awesome, which is all about working on the heart, mind, and soul. So I couldn't agree with you more. There's a little behind the scenes. Like, you can come join our community, which is our entry-level program, but you're not coming into the big boys unless you're ready to fully commit on you.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome.
Thank you for that.
I love it. Is there anything else you want to cover before we finish? Before we wrap up?
Take action. Please take action. Keep every time
do something,
you listen,
right? Even if it's wrong.
Yeah, every time you listen to Mike, you're taking action.
Yeah.
Every time you listen to the wonderful thought leaders and the thought leadership he's putting out there, that's taking action. It's rewiring your heart. It's rewiring your brain from scarcity and fear to abundance and growth. Yeah. I'm sure you've heard a lot of that in these podcasts that he's doing. So every time, keep tuning into Mike, but take one thing and apply it.
Yeah.
Hopefully you will either listen to Legendary, let me read it to you, and then apply one thing, or you'll read it yourself and apply one thing. So all of these thought leaders, this is taking action. This is leveling up, and this is growth. So continue tuning into him, continue investing in yourself. It's your most important asset is you. Yeah. And I promise you, success, happiness, impact, fulfillment, it will come your day. But every time you tune into Mike, you are taking action, and then go apply that knowledge into your lives. One thing at a time. And I promise you, success will come to you. So that's
on purpose, baby. On purpose. Yeah. Thanks again for being here, Tommy. I appreciate you. Thanks for being our guest on Mike Litton Experience. Appreciate you,
brother. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Did you know that there's a technology that uses sound waves that'll tell your brain what to do? There literally is. It's called newcalm.com. It can tell your brain to heal, tell your brain to sleep, tell your brain to do all kinds of things. It can get you fired up. It can be a pre-workout. Newcalm.com, and the promo code is Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at the Mike Litton Experience.